Today I will tell you about the movie 2067 Time Loop.
They didn't find a way to survive.
2067th year. As a result of abnormal climatic warming, massive fires began on Earth. Entire continents burned to the ground, plants died out, and natural oxygen disappeared. In the end, there is the last illuminated city on the planet in which people breathe with the help of synthetic oxygen. To get it, you need to work hard. Because of the terrible environmental conditions, many people begin to vomit blood, and after a while they die. This syndrome is called consumption. According to forecasts, humanity will die out in the next couple of decades. Ethan White works in the tunnel with his partner Jude Mathis. Both of them are engaged in technical work to maintain the stable operation of the nuclear reactor, without the proper support of which the city will be left without electricity. In the worst case, a nuclear explosion will happen. Ethan has been wearing a bracelet on his arm since childhood, which he cannot take off and on which the red indicator is constantly lit. Ethan has a wife named Xanthi, who also suffers from consumption.
We need to stay calm. Oh, shit.
Ethan is sure that he will be able to help her if he works more, earns more money, and buys his wife a more perfect breathing mask. One day, Ethan is summoned by Regina Jackson, the head of the Particle Research Department at the Synthetic Oxygen Corporation. Jude, with his Pasha as a child and constantly looking after him, follows. In her office, Regina informs that Ethan can save everyone and brings him to the laboratory where Ethan's father, Richard White, once worked, the mention of which causes Ethan negative emotions. In the laboratory, Ethan is shown a device called Chronic, and capable of not only sending signals and objects to the future, but also receiving answers back. Ethan is informed that a signal was sent earlier to check if there is something on the other side. It turned out that on the other side is the future 407 years from current events. At first, this surprises Ethan, because according to scientists, people will have to die out in a maximum of 20 years, and if an answer comes from the future, then someone has found a way to prevent extinction. But he is more surprised when he is shown the received message from the future, which says send Ethan White. Send Ethan White. At first, Ethan categorically refuses to go anywhere. Moreover, we are shown a flashback in which we see that when the hero turned 8, his father built a gift in the form of a box. And when Ethan stuck his hand in there, the same bracelet with a burning red indicator was fixed on it. It was very painful. After the father left, but later called home and asked his wife and son to go outside to a certain place. They were attacked there. As a result, his mother died, and Ethan himself was saved by Jude Masters.
Breathe.
Xanthi persuades Ethan to go on a journey to find a way to save humanity. Ethan himself leaves her a flower made of metal, on which it is written, "I will find a way to return to you." Before sending, one of the scientists gives Ethan a device named Archie, who will help Ethan in his mission, and also informs that they will monitor his vital signs. Arriving in the future, the guy's suit first starts to burn, and when Ethan manages to take it off, it explodes. Recovering, Ethan discovers a completely habitable area around, similar to a jungle, and concludes that people really found a cure for consumption and were able to restore the planet. However, no living people can be found around. Also, Archie can't detect any satellites. After going a little deeper into the jungle, Ethan discovers someone's skeleton with a hole in the head in the forehead area. After examining the clothes on the skeleton and comparing the bracelet on his arm, Ethan realizes that this is his skeleton. Ethan White, Subject 14. The only difference is that the bracelet on the skeleton's arm is lit with a green indicator. Having initially lost hope, Ethan records a video message in which he says that it looks like he will die here. After searching the skeleton, Ethan discovers a time-worn but still working Archie with a damaged screen and a charge level of 2%. After asking this version of Archie to play the last recording, Ethan hears snippets of messages in which two men are talking. This is Samita and his friend Jude Mathis. At the end of the recording, a shot is heard.
The battery is low.
After searching the jungle and not being able to find anyone, Ethan was able to build a fire in the middle of the night. Not finding any food, he eats local berries, information about which is not in Archie's database. Ethan starts vomiting and hallucinations appear. He loses consciousness, and when he wakes up, he finds out that in the 2067th year, watching his indicators, they saw an increase in the level of toxins in the body and sent Jude so that he could inject an antidote and save Ethan. After seeing a skeleton with a bullet hole, Jude tries to convince Ethan that these are not his remains. At the same time, Jude himself behaves strangely and is constantly nervous. What the fuck is this? At the same time, Archie managed to find some kind of signal, and he leads his partners to the bunker. After entering the bunker, the partners discover the control panel. Ethan presses the activation key. The bracelet on the guy's arm takes a blood test, and after confirming that it really is Ethan White, allows access to the system. The indicator on the bracelet turns green. Then the light turns on and the partners see that there is a chronicle in front of them, which connects them with the 2067th year. A timer starts, which informs you that you need to wait 4 hours before activation. Jude is pleased that they will be able to return home, while Ethan cannot understand why the bunker is empty. Moreover, Ethan believes that the green indicator on the skeleton's bracelet means that these events have already happened and they missed something. However, Jude continues to behave nervously and still claims that that skeleton is not Ethan's remains. Ethan starts recording the archive data to Chronic and sees a hologram of his father in front of him. Richard White reports that Chronicle will send a request to the future in the hope of getting an answer and finding out how people managed to prevent extinction and restore the planet. Richard gets the answer that it's 2474 on the other side and sees the same message that says send Ethan White.
What the hell?
Regina Jackson, who appeared, begins to believe that this is not a signal from the future, but Richard himself introduced this message. Regina wants to send the matter, but at this moment the scientific laboratory reports that in the 2474th year there was a breakdown. At the same moment, the holographic message is interrupted, and Ethan and Jude find out that there has been a power failure of the nuclear reactor. Ethan can't figure out a few things. Who finally repaired the reactor? Who sent the message? Where is anyone at all from whom you can get medicines, and why was Jude sent, and not, for example, some medical soldier? Jude is nervous, and asks Ethan to help restore the power supply to the reactors, but agrees to take another look around the neighborhood beforehand. Approaching the edge of the jungle, the heroes discover the remains of the oxygen plant and the city they know. Everything is overgrown with greenery. Going inside the city and finding several remains, Ethan realizes that there is no cure and people have not found a way to survive. The planet simply waited for humanity to die out, after which it recovered, since people could no longer interfere with its vital activity. After finding his wife's classroom, Ethan discovers Xanthi's remains. There is also a flower left by him with the inscription "I will find a way to return to you" and a message written by her. "It's a pity that you didn't come back." Ethan begins to blame himself for not returning to his wife, and Jude tells him that this is not the case, after which he utters the very phrase from Archie's recording, "Maybe it's for the best. None of them are hurt anymore." Shocked, Ethan asks Archie from the past to play archived recordings. "What is it? Maybe it's for the best. None of them are hurt anymore."
The data is corrupted.
After listening to them, a dumbfounded Jude pulls out a gun and points it at Ethan. After that, he begins to walk nervously and repeat that he is in control of everything. Ethan thinks Jude is going to shoot him, but Jude says he needs to go back and rebuild the reactor.
You have to shoot me, brother.
What? Going down to the reactor room, Ethan realizes that he needs to redirect energy. The first attempt fails, and the door begins to close. Jude begins to support the door, and Ethan informs that it is necessary to switch the backup lever during pressure relief, after which he decides to sacrifice himself by pushing Jude out of the room and switching the desired lever. The reactor is being restored and everything is coming back to normal. However, Jude is not going to leave it to die and finds a way to get into the room to save him. Returning to the control panel, the heroes find out that there are 37 minutes left before the system is activated and there are no critical system failures. Jude sighs with relief and just wants to rest, and Ethan, deciding to find out what one of the doors opens, discovers that his remains still lie behind it, which means he could not change anything and will soon have to die. Ethan rearranges the insides from the new Archie to the old one and, in front of Jude, asks him to play the last video. It shows the characters swearing, and Jude presents ITA with a gun to his forehead. Then a shot is heard.
I couldn't.
Ethan is trying to search the bunker in the hope of still finding medicines. Not crowned with success, Ethan decides to look through the archival records of the Chronicle. However, Jude tries to prevent him from doing this by breaking the memory module in a separate room. Ethan manages to lock Jude in there while he watches the recording. In it, Richard White says that he had to stay with his wife and son, whom he loves very much. Further on, the recording shows that Regina and young Jude enter the room. Richard understands that Regina's goal is not to find a cure, but a desire to escape with a couple of dozen chosen ones. He informs her that he has programmed the system so that at the other end it can only be activated with the help of Ethan's DNA. To prevent Richard from interfering with Regina's plan, she kills him. She then orders Jude to become Ethan's guardian angel, so that he will eventually be sent to the future and activate the portal. Jude gets out of the locked room and tries to convince Ethan that the past can no longer be saved.
Used it. We were used.
I was a youngster, understand. As a result of the growing conflict between Ethan and Jude, a dialogue arises that Ethan heard during the recording. And when Ethan tries to break the portal, Jude attacks him and puts a gun to his forehead. However, instead of shooting Ethan, Jude kills himself.
I would be very sorry.
At the same time, in the 2067th year, a group of chosen ones is preparing to be sent into the future. While waiting for Ethan to return, Regina orders the lab guard to kill him when he appears. However, instead of Ethan, plants from the future and Archie are in the laboratory, on which the video is played when Regina killed Richard White. After that, Ethan sends a message to the earlier past, "Send Ethan White," interrupts the connection and destroys the chronicle. In the 2067th year, to Santa, watching TV and learns that after the received video Regina was arrested. The company was searched, several plant species were found, and humanity may have a chance for ecological revival. Xanthi herself receives a living flower. In the year 2474, after burying Jude, Ethan puts a metal flower near his grave and sees that there is no message from Xanthi on it. Then, turning his head, to his surprise, he notices a live butterfly. Running up to the exit of the bunker, he sees that his skeleton has disappeared. Running to the cliff at the edge of the jungle, Ethan has a view of the beautiful city of the future, full of people. That's all for today. Subscribe and like if you want more of these videos.